Commander Vethix stood at the observation deck of the Stellar Dominion, watching as the small blue planet grew larger in the viewscreen. Earth, the third planet of an unremarkable star system, yet it had become the focal point of the most significant military campaign in the Galactic HFY's history. Final approach to Earth orbit, Commander, Lieutenant Morseth announced, her four eyes blinking in sequence as she calibrated the ship's deceleration. Excellent. Prepare the landing parties. I want 300 soldiers on the ground within the hour, Vethix ordered, his scales rippling with anticipation. The intelligence reports had been clear. Despite their primitive technology, humans possessed remarkable resilience and creativity. The hegemony scientists had analyzed their electromagnetic transmissions for decades, their television, radio, and internet, before concluding that humanity posed a unique threat to galactic stability. Humans were unpredictable, dangerous. They needed to be subjugated before they developed faster-than-light technology and spread their chaos across the stars. Commander, I compiled the final scouting reports, said Intelligence Officer Braxel, approaching with a data crystal. The humans have no unified planetary defense. Their militaries are fragmented along geographical boundaries they call nations. Their weapons are primitive, mostly chemical propellants and limited nuclear capabilities. Vethix's secondary mouth curled into what passed for a smile among the Viridian species. Then this will be over quickly. There is one unusual note, sir, Braxel continued, hesitation in his voice. Our psychological assessment team has flagged something they call human unpredictability factor. The models suggest that standard conquest protocols may yield unexpected results. Nonsense. Vethix dismissed the concern with a wave of his tertiary limb. We've conquered 17 civilizations across 12 star systems. Some were even capable of interplanetary travel. These humans haven't even colonized their own moon permanently. Yes, sir, Braxel replied, his head crest flattening in deference. The invasion fleet consisted of 50 vessels, each carrying thousands of hegemony troops from a dozen allied species. Earth would be secured in days, its population cataloged and assigned appropriate labor roles within the hegemony's economic structure. Standard procedure. Launch the first wave, Vethix commanded. The landing craft descended through Earth's atmosphere, breaking through cloud cover above a region the humans called North America. Initial resistance was minimal. Earth's primitive aircraft and ground-based projectile weapons posed little threat to hegemony technology. As the first reports came in, Vethix allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. The humans were reacting exactly as predicted. Confusion, panic, disorganized resistance. Their global communication networks were in chaos as they struggled to comprehend the reality of extraterrestrial invasion. Sir, Morseth called out. Field Commander Drask reports that his forces have secured the primary objective. The human leadership bunker has been breached. Excellent. Tell him to proceed with extraction of their leaders. I want. Vethix was interrupted by a blaring alarm. The bridge view screen shifted to show one of their landing craft erupting in flames. What happened? He demanded. Unknown, sir, the tactical officer responded. The craft was already on the ground. No enemy aircraft in the vicinity. Before Vethix could respond, another alarm sounded. Then another. Sir, we're losing contact with ground teams across multiple landing zones. Vethix's confidence wavered for the first time. Send in the second wave, and tell Commander Tovix to deploy our orbital weapons platforms. We need to demonstrate our technological superiority. As the commands were relayed, a strange silence fell over the bridge. No one had expected resistance. No one had prepared for losses. And no one, certainly not Commander Vethix, had anticipated that this unremarkable blue planet would become the graveyard of the hegemony's greatest invasion force. 3 days into the invasion, the hegemony's carefully orchestrated conquest was unraveling. How is this possible? Vethix snarled, slamming his command talon against the holographic display showing the status of their ground forces. Red indicators blinked everywhere, signaling lost units or troops in distress. Sir, The humans, they're not fighting like any species we've encountered, strategic analyst Pelvrix explained, her translucent membranes fluttering nervously. They don't retreat when outmatched. They're using their own infrastructure as weapons. They are adapting to our technology at an alarming rate. Reports flooded in from across the planet. In a region called Ukraine, humans had somehow reprogrammed captured hegemony drones to attack their former masters. In Japan, they'd reverse-engineered elements of a downed scout ship within hours. Most disturbing were the reports from Switzerland, where human scientists had already created rudimentary countermeasures against hegemony energy shields. Impossible, Vethix muttered. Their technological development curve cannot support such rapid adaptation. It's not just their technology, sir, Braxel interjected. It's their tactics. They're not fighting as separate nations anymore. Something about our arrival has united them in ways our simulations didn't predict. The bridge door slid open as Medical Officer Quarith entered, his usually immaculate uniform stained with the iridescent blood of multiple species. "Commander, we have another problem," he said gravely. "The atmosphere appears to contain microorganisms that our filtration systems didn't detect. Our troops are falling ill across multiple theaters." Vethix stared incredulously. "Our biological screening protocols are the most advanced in the galaxy. How could they miss this?" "Because we weren't looking for it," Quarith replied. "These aren't weaponized pathogens. They're just Earth microbes. Our troops have no natural immunity." Outside the viewports, Earth continued its placid rotation, blue and white and seemingly innocent. But now Vethix saw it differently, as a biological weapon itself, evolved over billions of years to protect its dominant species. "Launch orbital bombardment," Vethix ordered suddenly. "Target their major population centers." The bridge fell silent. Orbital bombardment was forbidden under hegemony protocol, except in cases of absolute necessity. It would destroy valuable infrastructure and potential slave labor. "Sir," Morsith began cautiously, "the High Command explicitly stated." "I know what they stated," Vethix roared. "But they're not here watching their invasion force being decimated by primitive apes." The orbital platforms moved into position, their energy weapons charging. The first beam struck near a human metropolis called Delhi, vaporizing everything within a 20-kilometer radius. The humans' response came within hours. "Sir," the tactical officer shouted. Multiple nuclear launches detected from land-based silos and submarines. Vethix watched in horror as primitive nuclear missiles, technology the hegemony had abandoned centuries ago as too unpredictable, streaked upward from Earth's surface. The hegemony ships had defenses against energy weapons and plasma-based attacks, but these crude projectiles carrying radioactive payloads confounded their targeting systems. 3 support vessels vanished in nuclear fireballs before the fleet could adjust their shields. "Retrograde orbit. Get us out of missile range," Vethix ordered, watching as his carefully planned invasion descended into chaos. In the medical bay, the first hegemony soldier who had set foot on Earth's soil lay in quarantine, ravaged by a dozen Earth pathogens. His name was Keldrix, and he had been Field Commander Drask's second-in-command. Now, he was the only survivor from his landing party. His eyes stared vacantly at the ceiling as the medical staff worked desperately to save him. Something in those eyes had changed. Something had broken in a way that hegemony medical science couldn't repair. And still, the humans fought back with increasing effectiveness, turning the invasion into a nightmare that would haunt the galactic hegemony for generations to come. 2 weeks into what should have been a 3-day operation, the hegemony invasion force was in full retreat. Of the 50 ships that had entered Earth's orbit, only 37 remained. Of the 20,000 ground troops deployed, fewer than 6,000 had been recovered. Commander Vethix stood before the holographic communicator, facing the disapproving visages of the hegemony High Command. "Explain yourself, Commander," Grand Executor Zilvrix demanded, her ancient face contorted with rage. "How has a pre-FTL civilization managed to repel our forces?" Vethix struggled to maintain his composure. High Command, I believe we severely underestimated several factors. The humans possess a unique combination of traits we've never encountered in a single species before. Elaborate, ordered strategic overseer umbrics. First, their biological diversity is extraordinary, Vethix explained. Their genetic variation means that while many succumb to our weapons, others show natural resistance. They adapt physiologically at an individual level. That's scientifically impossible, scoffed Science Director Malvorix. Nevertheless, we're observing it, Vethix insisted. Second, their psychological makeup defies our understanding. When cornered, instead of surrendering as our models predicted, they become more dangerous. They sacrifice themselves without hesitation if they believe it will harm us. The holographic figures exchange troubled glances. Third, Vethix continued, they learn with unprecedented speed. They've already adapted elements of our technology into their defense systems. Some of our own weapons are now being used against us. This is unacceptable, Zilvrix declared. You will deploy the Omega Protocol. Vethix's blood ran cold. The Omega Protocol, complete planetary sterilization. It had never been used in the hegemony's 10,000-year history. High Command, I must object. The Omega Protocol would. The decision is made, Commander. Zilvrix cut him off. We cannot allow a species with these capabilities to exist. Implement immediately. The communication ended, leaving Vethix alone with the weight of genocide. On the planet below, humans continued their desperate resistance. They had no knowledge of the Omega Protocol or the planet-killing weapons being prepared above them. They fought with whatever they had, their ingenuity turning everyday objects into weapons, their cooperation crossing boundaries of nations and ideologies that had divided them for millennia. In a hidden bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, a team of human scientists worked feverishly to understand the alien technology from a captured landing craft. Among them was Dr. Ilara Ivashkov, who had made a breakthrough in deciphering the hegemony's communication protocols. I got it, she exclaimed, her eyes wide with both excitement and dread. I can understand their transmissions now. They're planning something big, something called Omega Protocol. Her colleague, Dr. Tariq Nazari, looked up from the alien power core he was studying. What is it? I don't know exactly, but based on the energy signatures they're generating. Ilara's voice trailed off as the implications became clear. I think they're going to try to destroy the planet. In orbit, Vethix gave the order to begin Omega Protocol preparations with a heavy heart. As the massive energy collectors deployed from his vessel, he noticed Lieutenant Morsith watching him. Do you believe this is right, Commander? She asked quietly, breaking protocol with such a direct question. Vethix stared at the blue planet spinning below them. What I believe is irrelevant. These are our orders. But sir, if the humans are as adaptable as we've seen, what if some survive? What if they remember what we did here? What if they one day find us? The question hung in the air, unanswered. In the medical bay, Keldrix, the only survivor from the first landing party, began to convulse. The medical staff rushed to stabilize him, but nothing in their advanced pharmacopoeia seemed effective. His body temperature soared, his scales darkened, and his eyes, those eyes that had seen whatever horrors Earth had inflicted upon him, began to glow with an unnatural light. No one noticed when his restraints began to corrode, the advanced alloys dissolving as if exposed to some unknown catalyst. No one saw when his genetic structure began to rewrite itself at the molecular level. No one realized that Earth had already changed him into something new. The Omega Protocol required precise alignment of the fleet's energy collectors. As the ships moved into formation, Vethix felt the weight of billions of lives pressing down upon him. Each passing minute brought the extinction of humanity closer. Sir, Communications Officer Drelvik reported, we're detecting an unusual transmission from Earth. It's using our own communication protocols. Impossible, Vethix snapped. Put it through. The view screen activated, showing a human female with dark skin and fierce eyes. She spoke in perfect hegemony standard, her pronunciation flawless. This is Dr. Ilara Ivashkov of Earth. We know what you're planning. We are broadcasting this message across all your frequencies to every ship in your fleet. Vethix felt a chill run down his spine. How had they deciphered hegemony language so quickly? Your Omega protocol will fail, Dr. Ivashkov continued. We've analyzed the energy signatures your collectors are generating. We now understand the principles behind your weapons. But more importantly, we want you to understand something about humanity before you attempt to destroy us. The camera pulled back, revealing a room filled with humans of various ethnicities, all working together among pieces of dismantled hegemony technology. We were killing each other when you arrived, she said. Fighting over resources, ideologies, borders. You united us. In 2 weeks, we've achieved technological advances that might have taken us decades. We've learned from you, and we're still learning. Vethix signaled for the transmission to be cut, but Drelvik shook his head. Sir, they've somehow overridden our communication systems. Consider this, Dr. Ivashkov continued. If we could learn this much in 2 weeks, what will we become if some of us survive your attack? How far across the galaxy will our vengeance reach? We are offering you one chance. Leave now, and we will not pursue you. Stay, and whatever happens next will be your responsibility. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Sir, Tactical Officer Zorvith reported nervously. We're detecting energy buildups on the planet's surface. Thousands of them, corresponding with population centers worldwide. What kind of energy? Vethix demanded. Unknown, sir. But the signatures share similarities with our own weapons technology. Before Vethix could respond, the medical bay emergency alarm blared through the ship. Security breach in medical. All personnel to emergency stations. The surveillance feed showed chaos. Keldrix, the silent survivor, was no longer restrained. His body had changed, becoming something neither human nor Viridian. Medical staff lay unconscious around him as he moved with unnatural speed toward the door. Lock down the medical bay, Vethix ordered. Too late, sir, Security Chief Nembrich reported. He's already in the corridor. On the security feeds, they watched as Keldrix moved through the ship. When security personnel confronted him, he didn't fight. He simply touched them, and they collapsed. Something was transferring from his altered body to theirs. He's heading for the main engineering deck, Nembrix realized with horror. Vethix made his decision. Begin the Omega Protocol now. Target Earth's core. As the energy collectors reached full power, the ships channeled their combined energy into a single devastating beam aimed at the planet below. The beam struck Earth's surface, burning through the crust toward the mantle. But something unexpected happened. Instead of penetrating deeper, the energy seemed to disperse, absorbed by the thousands of points that had registered on their sensors. Sir, Zorvith cried out, the humans are somehow redirecting our energy. On the planet below, the networks of hastily constructed devices that Dr. Ivashkov and her colleagues had built began to glow with captured hegemony energy. All across Earth, humans watched as the alien power was absorbed, channeled, and repurposed. And then, as one, they sent it back. The redirected energy struck the hegemony fleet like divine retribution. Ships disintegrated, their advanced shields useless against their own weaponry turned back upon them. The stellar dominion shuddered as systems failed throughout the vessel. Engines offline. Weapons offline, officers shouted as consoles exploded around them. Vethix clung to his command chair, watching as his mighty invasion force was decimated not by superior technology, but by a primitive species that had simply refused to be conquered. Evacuation protocol, he ordered. All personnel to escape pods. But even as the crew scrambled to abandon ship, another threat emerged from within. Keldrix had reached the engineering deck. Security camera footage showed him placing his transformed hands against the ship's power core. Whatever Earth had done to him was now being transferred to the very heart of the vessel. The ship's AI spoke in a distorted voice. Warning, unknown biological agent infiltrating primary systems. Power core, molecular structure destabilizing. Vethix realized with horror what was happening. Somehow, Earth's microbes had not just infected Keldrix, they had formed a symbiotic relationship with him, altering him at the genetic level, giving him abilities no Viridian had ever possessed. And now, those same microbes were reprogramming the ship itself. All personnel, abandon ship immediately. Vethix commanded, knowing it was already too late for many. As the surviving crew members fled to escape pods, Vethix made his way to the engineering deck. He had to see for himself what Earth had created. He found Keldrix standing before the power core, which now pulsed with an organic glow. The former soldier turned to face his commander, his eyes shimmering with intelligence far beyond what any Viridian should possess. For a moment, they stared at each other, the commander and his transformed subordinate. Vethix expected hatred, vengeance, some explosive emotional response typical of lesser species. Instead, Keldrix simply looked at him with something like pity. Then he turned and placed his hand on a control panel. The ship's remaining escape pods launched automatically, carrying the survivors away from the doomed vessel. Vethix understood. "You're saving us." "Why?" Keldrix opened his mouth as if to speak, then closed it again. Whatever Earth had done to him, whatever he had seen or experienced there, had rendered him unable or unwilling to communicate in ways his own species could understand. The ship began to break apart around them. Vethix made his way to the last remaining escape pod, glancing back once at Keldrix, who stood calmly amidst the destruction, making no move to save himself. As Vethix's pod launched into space, he watched through the viewport as the stellar dominion imploded, taking Keldrix with it. Of the mighty invasion fleet, only a handful of escape pods remained, tumbling through space away from the blue planet that had proved so unexpectedly formidable. 6 months later, a single hegemony rescue vessel recovered 13 survivors from their emergency pods. Among them was Commander Vethix, once the proud leader of the invasion force, now a hollow shell of his former self. The Galactic hegemony debriefed him extensively, demanding information about what had happened at Earth, seeking to understand how their invincible armada had been so thoroughly defeated. Vethix answered their questions mechanically, providing tactical details and strategic assessments. But when asked about the humans themselves, what they were truly like, what made them so different from other conquered species, he fell silent. Like Keldrix before him, something fundamental had changed within him. He had glimpsed humanity's terrible potential, their resilience, their adaptability, their capacity for both destruction and creation on scales that defied hegemony understanding. He had seen a species that, when pushed to the brink of extinction, didn't cower or surrender, but instead evolved, almost overnight, into something greater than they had been before. The Hegemony High Command marked Earth as quarantined, placing warning beacons at the edges of the solar system. They buried the records of the failed invasion deep in their archives, hoping to forget the catastrophe. But Commander Vethix never forgot. And though he lived for many years afterward, rising again through the ranks due to his tactical knowledge, he never spoke of Earth again. For how could he explain that in attempting to destroy humanity, the hegemony had instead awakened something that would one day spread across the stars, something that would remember and would find them? How could he explain that in the eyes of Keldrix, he had seen not just a transformed soldier, but the future of both their species, a future where the distinction between conqueror and conquered had lost all meaning? Some truths cannot be spoken, some experiences cannot be shared, and some defeats should never be forgotten.